Go ahead.
hmm
Hi, Travis Irick, a friend of Ari's. Her also her athletic trainer at Physical Therapy Center Tustin, and we're here to answer some fun questions today.
Yes. Okay. What do you think makes social media addictive to people?
Probably the interaction they get with people. It allows a lot more contact. Well, not actual contact, but hypothetical contact with other people, and I think people are drawn to people naturally.
Okay. Okay. How do we compare our lives to others through social media?
I think we are constantly comparing our lives to others. The grass is always greener on the other side, so if I see, my friend's doing one thing and I'm envious of that, then I'm going to compare what I'm doing in the moment to whatever he's doing or she. Um,
So do you think that makes us more? It could, in fact, make us more jealous and therefore wanting us to be like the other person or trying to show up other people through social
oh yeah, I
media?
think it's a cycle. I mean, I'm not. I don't think everyone does that all the time, but there's definitely a cycle where you see one thing and it may be better than what you have, so you try to post it and one up it, and automatically the response from the other person would probably be the same thing.
Okay. Do you believe in the thought that some people hide behind their phone and why?
Yeah, I think some people do hide behind their phone. I don't know that everyone does. I know I have before, and I would say it's just more comfortable. It's easy to hide behind a phone. Sometimes engaging in conversation is difficult. It's engaged in conversation with the computer right now. So eye to eye contact, stuff like that. It's a dying art, and I think I think it's just easy. It's easy to hide behind your phone or your computer screen.
So
And
do you think that that's the cause behind not wanting to face the other person? And like, say if there's cyberbullying or like a fight on Twitter, which is very
mhm.
common now, that people want to hide behind their phone because they're too afraid to say it in person.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's probably an instinct we've always had as people to hide behind something. Now it's easy with a phone, a device like that, or a screen. You never have to look someone in the eye and tell them what you're thinking and how you're feeling. And I think it makes people a lot more bold too. I think they say things that they would never say in person that are often said on social media.
Okay. What parts of social media do you think jobs and schools should be able to access?
I think it depends on the job. If it's a high clearance level government job, I don't think you should have any restrictions. School, I would say a little more privacy is needed. I don't know if I'm completely qualified to answer this, but I would say schools should have moderate to limited access. Um, Things of like I mentioned, a higher level government job. I don't think there should be any restrictions. Um, in regards to social media, I'm not talking about bank accounts or anything like that, but Facebook pages, Twitter accounts, whatever. I mean, if you have something to hide, you probably shouldn't be seeking a job like that.
Okay. Do you think that the world would be a better place without social media, and why?
No, I think the world would probably be similar to what it is now. If it wasn't social media that was so popular, it would be something else. Where we as humans would have created something else that would require a lot of attention. I think social media can do a lot of good, but I think it can do a lot of bad. I think it all depends on the user and the person behind the screen.
Okay. How do you think we could control negativity on social media?
I don't know that you can. I think you would first have to invest time in the person behind. I mean, it's not the social media that causes problems. Facebook is just a thing. It's the person behind the Facebook. So I think it starts with the individual. I think I think we need to hold ourselves to a higher standards and not social media.
Okay. What do you think is the biggest negative aspect?
I would say uh, probably the bullying. I mean, some of that has resulted in loss of life. I can't imagine a bigger thing than that. Bullying is by no means new, but I think just as we're emboldened by speaking out our feelings because it's easier through social media, I think it's a lot easier to make fun of somebody because you never have to see the pain that person's going through.
That also kind of puts the two and two together of hiding behind your phone, I think.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I think that a lot of the issues that string from that become much worse than people think because when they're hiding behind their phone, they don't know the damage they're doing in person. And I think that kind of puts the two together pretty well.
Yeah.
How do you think social media negatively affects relationships?
I think we've always affected relationships for the negative and the positive. Social media is just another way of doing it. Um, there's a lot of stupid issues with people sending text messages that maybe ended in a period and not a happy face. The person was never mad, but the person who got or received the message perceived them to be angry. I've heard that happening a couple times. Can I blow my nose really quick? It's like blowing like crazy. Thank you. I'll be right back.
Okay.
So where were we?
Negatively
Relationships.
affects relationships.
Again, we're emboldened by a screen, I think. So we'll say things that we maybe wouldn't say to a friend in person, that we should maybe never have said. Um, and I think that's a lesson we all need to learn, and it comes back to individual responsibility of, minding your own business sometimes.
Okay. Do you think that if there was not as many types of social media, i.e., like Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, we would have less breakups in the world / divorces?
I don't know. I think people are people regardless. I think if a relationship is going to end, it's going to end regardless of social media. But I mean, obviously, could there have been less? Yeah, because a lot of relationships have ended with social media. People have found out that their significant other is cheating through social media. Um, maybe they would have found out in another way. But yeah, social media brings that much more accountability into play. So to answer your question, in short, I'd probably say no. I think relationships would end if it wasn't because of social media, regardless in the long run, if they're meant to end.
Okay. Have you seen an increase of suicides through social media? Like, have you had any experiences with that or heard of any?
Yeah, I've heard of a lot of people committing suicide because of negativity over Facebook or Twitter accounts. I don't know anyone who has. I know people that are currently in counseling because of things they've experienced via social media, but I've never heard of or I've never been affected personally by a suicide because of social media. But I have heard of many accounts.
Sorry, Josh. Okay. Do you think it is necessary or better for younger children to be learning off iPads and computers rather than through teachers and pen and paper?
For better or worse, it seems to be the way the world's going. So if that's the way it is, then that's what they should know. Pen and paper is a dying art, and that's kind of sad to say. I wish there was a way to do both, because it's important if the world is changing and developing into a society that uses iPads, and of course they should be taught how to use iPads. But I think there's something to be said for the old school nature of pen and paper.
Scientists have proven over and over again that the brain does not finish growing and developing until you're 25 years old. Do you think that we should put an age limit to being able to create or have any kind of social media account?
Can you repeat the end of that? I'm sorry.
Should we develop like an age limit to being able to develop a social media account?
I think that comes down to the child. And it's kind of probably a decision that should be left up to the parents. For me, I probably wasn't mature enough to have a social media account until like 2 years ago. Whereas my little sister is twice as mature, and she could have had one at age 6 and been fine and more responsible than I am at 21. So I think that is a decision that should probably be left to the caregiver or to the person in charge, i.e. parent.
How do you think social media digresses ignorant children? Like, how do you think that negatively affects them?
I think as a child, ignorance goes hand in hand with being a child. I don't know that it affects ignorance. If anything, it exposes them to more, which in a sense is exposing them to something and they're learning to not be ignorant. But that could tie in with the bullying. And a person that's more subjected to act out that way would probably do it more actively on a social media site. So again, I think it's a decision left to the parents. If they think their kid is too ignorant for a social media account, then they should probably keep their child away from a social media account. But I would not enforce an age myself.
How do you think bullying done by the younger generation affects the future as well as others around them?
Can you repeat that one more time?
How do you think bullying done by younger generation affects the future as well as others around them?
I think it affects it very negatively. I think bullying is something that it's horrible, and it didn't start with social media. It's gone on a lot longer. And I think the effect it has on the generation. I think every generation has been bullying to a certain extent. There's nothing new under the sun, in my opinion. So social media has magnified that issue, but it's been an issue for a long period of time. And it has. I can't see it have anything but a negative effect on the future generation. I've never heard of a positive thing coming from bullying. A lot of people take it and grow stronger from it, but at the same sense, bullying is something that should never be tolerated. Social media or otherwise.
And to wrap up my interview, how has having social media accounts negatively affected you as a person?
In closing, I'd like to say social media is like a car. It can be used for a really good thing, like getting around, and our society kind of functions. It probably wouldn't function nearly as well without cars. But it's a super powerful thing, and a car. And if it's used inappropriately, it's responsible for atrocities leading up all the way to death. So for me, I know it's my responsibility to, when I drive and get behind the wheel, to drive responsibly. When I get behind my screen, I'm on a social media account, I need to act responsibly too. I need to not tear people down. If at all possible, always be positive. And I hope to continue to do that. And I'm guilty of sending mean text messages or posting, things that may have offended people in the past. And I strive to not do that. And I think that's something that we should all do is, take the individual responsibility. And just like we get behind our wheel and drive responsibly, we get behind our screen. We should act responsibly as well.
Thank you, Travis, for your time.